Welcome to Pitch Your Startup, presented by Innovate. This is your host, Bob Shami, and today we're delighted to have our guest from all the way from Uganda, Isaac Wery. Isaac, pleasure to have you on the show, who is the founder and CEO of Zimba Technologies. I'm really interested to know what Zimba Technologies is about, but it sounds like something extremely innovative and out of the box. Isaac, please, before we jump into it, give us a small introduction about yourself and what do you do, and so we can get into it and talk about your innovation, your startup, and your motivation to do it, and what led you, and how impactful it is. Please.
Bob, thank you so much. I've really been looking forward to this interview with
My
Pitch Your
pleasure.
Startup. Yeah. My name is Isaac Wery. Like Bob mentioned, I'm the founder and CEO of Zimba Technologies. My story begins in Uganda, and that's why I wanted to come back to build my solution here. But born and raised in Uganda, I was orphaned by the age of 7, and I was adopted by American missionaries that worked closely with my birth parents. I moved to the U.S. When I was 12. After high school, I attended the United States Military Academy at West Point. I was a mechanical engineering major. I was also on the track team as well. After graduating, I commissioned as a second lieutenant, like the rest of my peers. And I spent the following 6 years in the Army. But I always had a desire to move back to Uganda to just build something that people could benefit from. So yeah, now I'm here, building Zimba Technologies.
What an inspiring, amazing story for a young man, second lieutenant. You're orphaned, and look what you accomplished.
Appreciate
I
it.
guess, life, you could do, you could design life and your destiny the way you want if you just stay focused. Amazing, really amazing. I'm impressed.
I'm very blessed.
Yes, yes, absolutely. Um, so let's talk about your innovation. What led you to create Zimba Technology? We want to know about Zimba Technology. What was the first led you to that? Like, where did you see the gap and the point? And what's Zimba Technology represent? What is it about? And how did you come about building it? And then what's the goal and how impactful it is and how important? And why did you think of that? Yeah, a lot of questions. So you could do all the talking. I don't have to interrupt you. So go for
Okay,
it, buddy.
okay. Well, how much time do we have, Bob? Huh?
Go for it.
um, yeah. So the origins of Zimba. I think depending on the day, maybe the versions of the stories would change a little bit. But I think the seed was really planted from a very early age. After my parents had passed, I remember the struggles that my family went through in terms of trying to provide for my three siblings and I. And in order to do that, my uncle, who was responsible for us, needed money, which he was unable to access. So that was kind of like the initial thing, and it became a recurring theme. I had a sister that ended up staying in Uganda. She wanted to start a business. Again, same thing, can't access money. So when I decided that I wanted to get out of the army and to move back to Uganda to build a business, I knew that it needed to be somewhere in the space of helping small businesses access money. And long story short, I ended up building the solutions that enable the financial institutions that provide support to those grassroots type type businesses. So just to give you guys a little bit more context, you look at a continent like Africa, really any developing country, you'll find
It's
that
massive. Africa's big.
it is,
What is
it
it?
is.
53 countries? 54? 53 countries
Yes, I think
in Africa?
54. I'm showing how horrible I am at geography, but I think it's 54. It's extremely diverse, but you'll find that the majority of the population doesn't rely on your typical commercial bank to access credit. I think there's a World Bank stat out there that 70% of borrowers from developing countries are dependent on microfinance-based institutions for their credit needs. So these institutions provide they really fill a massive void in the market, especially for small businesses on continents like Africa. But you'll find the majority of them are still using pen and paper, they're using Excel to keep track of all of their operations, which is extremely inefficient. It's riddled with fraud. It creates a terrible customer experience. The list goes on and on when you're not keeping track of your books the modern way. And so what we've done is we've built a core banking solution or a back office solution that enables these institutions to be able to manage all of their operations in one place. So whether it's managing their clients and their client data, their loans, for the institutions that are licensed to take deposits of their customers, reporting, and at the center of all of it is an accounting module that handles all of the accounting. So our goal really is to just build a one-stop shop for these financial institutions in terms of managing all of their operations.
So, from my understanding, it's a loan app, is it?
In essence, it is, but it's more than that, right? Because there's two components to it. We have the back office element. So, which bank do you bank with, Bob?
Oh,
Maybe I as an so
let's
you have
say, yes, let's say Wells Fargo.
right. So now imagine if you're banking at Wells Fargo, you go to borrow money, and everything is manual. First, they have to find your records, and imagine the records are kept in just a massive room. So for starters, it will take a very long time for somebody to find the file that has, Bob Shammy written on it, especially, when you take a institution like Wells Fargo, it's massive. Of course, the microfinances are not operating at that same level, but many of them have, hundreds of thousands of customers. So to do that manually would be extremely inefficient, all the way down to calculating the interest that is due on your loan.
Yeah,
Everything is done by hand.
yeah.
So we've built a solution for these institutions to be able to manage all of those things. It's all automated. So typically you'd find a lot of mistakes for the institutions that are operating manually. Maybe you're supposed to be paying $10 a month in interest, but somebody made a mistake, and now you're paying 15 or you're paying 5. So a lot of mistakes like that happen. And so then we've also built an app for the end borrower that enables them to be able to apply for their loans, to make payments, and do all of those things. And it does run on the blockchain.
So let's say if I want to apply for a loan, I'll go to your app, to Zimba Technology, or what is it, Zimba.com or Zimba Technologies. Let's say I go to the app, and then you said because you have one, you have also the not just B2B, you have the B2C, you have the consumer side now
Yeah.
on the app. So where I can go on and apply for a loan. So the app chooses the right institutions that would give me the loan, or I would choose, or I have to be banking with a certain institution, or not
Yeah.
really. Let's say so how does it work?
No, it's the last one that you mentioned. You have to already be banking with a certain institution. So just like you mentioned, you bank with Wells Fargo. So let's say Wells Fargo is a microfinance. You're already a member of Wells Fargo. They have your information. They've created your accounts and all of those things. And so now we've just connected the app to that particular microfinance. So when you're applying for a loan, it's to that microfinance only. So that's
So is the app connected to different banks? Because let's say I'm Wells Fargo, somebody else is Citibank, somebody else is Chase, JP Morgan, somebody else is Bank of America, or there's other institutions out there. So is the app connected to variety of banks in Uganda?
It is. So right now we have about 100 microfinances that are using the app or our solution. But
You
each,
keep mentioning. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
yeah. So
But
each because when you look at like a Wells Fargo, Bank of America, now I'm not sure what core banking provider they're specifically using, but maybe it's like a Finstra that they're using. They're all using the same solution, but the customers are unique to them. So when they're applying for their loans, they're only seeing the product that is unique to their institution.
Interesting. But you keep saying the word micro. What is micro? Like $1,000, $5,000? What's the microfinancing? What is that micro loans?
Right, right.
What's the I never heard of micro. Well, I heard the term micro loans, maybe like 1,000, 5,000, 10,000.
Yeah,
What's
so
the amounts?
it's a similar concept, right? And really depends on the market that you're looking at. In the U.S., you know, $500,000 could be considered micro in some areas, but in Uganda specifically, or in most of the African countries, I would say it ranges anywhere from like $10 up to around $10,000.
Wait a second. $10 loans?
Yeah, yeah. Because
Wow, amazing.
you have to remember
I
that
never heard of that. This is definitely new. Now, wait a second. So, somebody at a shop and they want to buy something for $10 and they don't have any money and the credit card is not working or their credit card is tapped or whatever.
no,
And
Bob, you're thinking about this all wrong. In most cases, there's no credit cards for the majority of the customers that we provide the solution to. They don't have a bank account, or maybe they do have a bank account, but they don't
well, you
call it.
have to have because you said you got to be tied up to an institution, no? Or no?
You do, but these microfinance institutions are their own. They're regulated. They don't have a commercial banking license, but they're their own individual institutions.
Oh, so basically the app is connected to these microloans institution financial institution companies, but not regulated, or in America we would say is not FDIC regulated, not regulated by the federal banking, And
Yeah.
so they're not regulated, but still they provide loans. So you would write your information and they will deposit $10 or $20 in your what? In your phone? Oh,
Well, so
what?
they are regulated. They are regulated, but they're just not regulated by the central banks. They
Yes.
have their
But
own
how do you
local.
access the money? If I took a $20 loan on my phone, let's say I went in, I don't have a credit card, but I need a $20 loan. I need to buy something or I need to go, I'm at a dinner and I don't have any cash and I don't have a credit card. So how do I, so where the money goes? It goes to like PayPal or it goes to, where does it go? So I'm able to pay for
Right,
that $20 loan I took.
right. No, so that I, and that's why I asked Bob how much time we have on this call to explain
No,
everything, right?
we need to
But
know. Hey, you are on Pitcher Startup. There's investors, there's
right,
engineers, there's
yeah,
advisors, there's all type of people who's when they listen to Pitcher Startup episode with you, there's like, wow, this is pretty intriguing. What is he talking about? What's micro license? What's $20 and $10? What this
right,
app does? So you don't have to have an account with the bank. So the app pretty much chooses the institute or the right institution that matches your microloan automatically on its own, or you connect it to one institution and that one provides all the microloans.
yeah. So I think maybe the easiest thing would be to take a step backwards, right? You have to almost imagine the you have to imagine the banking industry in the U.S. like 50, 70 years ago, right? Before technology ran all of their back office
Yeah,
operations. And
correct.
so, we're just bringing the modern technology to these institutions. So to answer your question, how are they able to pay back that loan? So previous to solutions like the ones that we're providing in the market, everything took place using cash. So if you wanted to apply for a loan, you had to go there in person, fill out the form. They'd give you cash, and then you
Correct.
can make cash payments.
Now you do it through an app on your
Yes, so
phone.
now with the app, you have mobile money, which would be similar to like a Venmo or a like a Cash App, and so these institutions can create like float that's held at a commercial bank, and so then when somebody applies for a loan using the app, then they're able to facilitate those payments using
So
the
you'll have Venmo, or the money will be right there in Venmo, and you can use
exactly
Venmo or Cash App to pay for whatever you want.
right, pretty much
Amazing.
essentially.
Okay, we got that down. Now, how do you pay it back? Like when you take a 20 or $50 loan, how do you pay it back? Like is there a high interest? It's only $50. So if you have a
Yeah.
job, if you get paid in the end of the week, you'll be able to pay back the loan. Is it a 30-day loan or is it a 10-day loan or what's the term on it and how does it work to pay it back? Don't tell me you're going to be paying 50 cents for 10 years or 10 cents a month for 10
Yeah,
years.
yeah. So it really depends on the institution. Some have loan terms that are 4 or 5 years, but the majority of the microfinance institutions, they're short-term loans, 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, typically up
Amazing.
to like 6 months. But you also have to
Okay.
remember, it might be $10 to you, but here in Uganda, it's close to 40,000 shillings, right? Which can go a long way. 40,000 shillings can buy you a lot of things in Uganda. So the dollar
Wow.
goes a long way. And when you
A
look
long
at
way.
yeah, so when you look at the average person, they need a little bit of extra cash, maybe $10 a little bit, too small. But for the average business, they need about $200 to $300 to buy inventory, to do different things to keep the business, afloat.
Amazing. This is amazing. Now, what about a default? Somebody default on paying 10 or 20 or $50. Is there a lot of, what's the chances? Like, is there high risk loans, these micro loans, are they high risk for the financial institution who's providing? Like, you'll say, okay, we gotta probably write off about 30% or 40% or 50% of these micro loans. Nobody gonna pay them. These guys are gonna pay. Is there that kind of
Yeah, so that's exactly why the commercial banks don't lend to these
micro?
small businesses, right?
Yeah.
Because it'll cost them more to underwrite than it would, for the interest that they're gonna make, or even the principal, depending on the amount that's being received, right? But these institutions have their own way of underwriting, and it's very much community based. So in most cases, you look at Uganda, it has 48 million people. There's over 40,000 of these kinds of institutions, and so um, the people that you're lending to, in most cases, you know who they are.
How do you
As
gonna
part of
know?
the writing process, because they're part of your community. You see them in the streets. You know their family. It's just how the culture is here. So you're able to get information from people just through the communities. And as part of the underwriting process for the typical microfinance, they'll go to their business, they'll talk to the neighbors. You also have what's called a local chairman, an LC. So it's almost like a neighborhood politician. So you'll go to that neighborhood politician, and you'll ask them for their, you know, you ask them, hey, do you know this borrower? Can you tell me about them? So somebody in the community is
For
going to
for
know,
fifty
hey,
dollars, you do all this work for $50. You send out a representative to talk and do all of this. You spend gas money and timing. I mean, is it? I'm
in most
just
cases, you're lending to people within like a 5 kilometer radius. So you walk and you do a lot of these things. The
so
cost of labor is low. But
so. This
with
app you created not on an international level to be
well,
to be
it can
valued,
be used.
and investors say, hey, I love what he's doing. This is a
Yeah.
great thing. I need to invest in this startup because I could see this app Zimba Technologies is going to be a massive thing worldwide.
No, no, it's definitely scalable, right? Because now you have more and more, because you also have like the credit reference bureaus here as well. So you have more and more institutions that are starting to leverage technology to assist with the underwriting process because they've seen that that way of going, visiting, all of that, it takes a lot of time. It's expensive versus just entering that person's national ID number into a CRB, which we have integrated into our system, then that assists with the underwriting process. So that's why solutions like the ones that we're building are so important because it allows these institutions to become more efficient and it allows them to be able to reach more people, make more money, and provide a better service to their customers.
Amazing. I guess being an entrepreneur and being in the military for 6 years, that gave you the sense of being resilient and disciplined. And
Yeah.
the way you grew up, you had no other option but to go forward and to carve your own path and be positive, obviously.
Now, I was going to say, I think because of, my experiences just throughout life, in my story, West Point, the military, it's really prepared me to be an entrepreneur. Resilience, discipline, all of those things are, things that I've gotten very used to.
Amazing. So when you decided to build this idea, this tech microloan app finance, did you do the whole thing yourself? Meaning bootstrapping, you financed it yourself, or you had to hire certain people, or you built the whole thing yourself? It's like, you know what? I'm gonna bootstrap it. I'm gonna do the whole thing myself. Do you have investors? Do you have partners, or all built by you?
Yeah, so it's been primarily bootstrapped. We've raised a little bit of money from family and friends, but it's been primarily bootstrapped. I'm not a software engineer, so I didn't build it myself. And we did go through an interesting journey to get to where we're at, but we have local developers based here in Uganda that do the development work. But in the beginning, I was the one that was putting all the user stories together, the UI UX design. So it was a steep learning curve in the beginning, but I think it helped me really understand the development process and appreciate it as well.
Wow, very amazing, very inspiring, really inspiring, Isaac. Isaac, Again, as an entrepreneur who been through life, a lot of rough patches in life, a little more than just a patch, a lot of them. What advice you would have to other entrepreneurs who been through I would say a rough childhood or growing up, and didn't weren't blessed, let's say, or fortunate enough to have what others might have access to, but at least they were blessed to have the drive, the demeanor, the health. Because if you're healthy, you can do whatever you want.
Yeah.
So anything's doable as long as you're healthy. What advice you would have for them?
Yeah, so I mean, there'd be a couple of things. Well, even with the circumstances that I, grew up under, I would, first I'd like to say I would still consider myself extremely blessed. But for those entrepreneurs that want to start something, maybe they haven't been dealt the same cards as some of the other entrepreneurs that they see on LinkedIn. I would tell them that the most important thing is just to keep moving forward, right? If I was to tell you that what this journey has been from start to where it's at right now, and I still have a long way to go to where I'd like to be, but you just have to continue moving forward. You have to show up every day with your best foot forward, and you're going to eventually get that big break. And you don't know if that's going to be today, tomorrow, but I think most entrepreneurs easily get discouraged. You go into LinkedIn, you see some 24-year-old kid has raised like $100 million for some startup that they just started 6 months ago, and then you start feeling like you're a failure. But in reality, there's so much that goes into building a successful business. We've all seen those startups that have raised billions of dollars and they've crashed in a very short amount of time, like QB. But at the end of the day, I think that for those that are willing to show up and continue to grind every day, and continue to just build the product that your customers want and need, then you're going to eventually get to that point where you start seeing some success.
Amazing, great advice. Absolutely. Are you looking for any? Are you raising money? Are you looking for investors,
Yes, we are.
mentors, advisors on the board of Zimba Technologies?
Yes, no, we have very ambitious goals, and I think we are raising money, especially with some of the traction that we've seen recently. So there's a couple of things that we're looking for. The first is partnerships. I'm a strong believer in partnering to grow our business. Secondly, we're looking for customers, whether it's microfinance institutions, credit unions, those types of institutions that could utilize our platform. And then we're also, raising capital so we can continue to build our product and to expand. We recently expanded to Zambia, and there's several other things that we're working on as well that are very much needed in this market. So, because outside of software, which is a huge need for many of these institutions, they also need to access affordable capital. So that's the second problem that I'm interested in solving. So any lenders out there that would be interested in lending to microfinance institutions in this market that would love to partner with us. We can provide the tools to underwrite them. We've already built that into the platform and to monitor them as well. And so now we're also looking for lending partners that can extend credit to our customers so they can, provide more loans and have more impact in the communities that they serve.
Amazing, really amazing, Isaac. Amazing story, and amazing app, and amazing innovation. Absolutely.
Thank you.
If somebody want to get a hold of you, how can they get a hold of you? An investor, an advisor, a mentor? Somebody has an idea, or somebody want to get partnership with you or with Zimba Technologies for the app? How they get a hold of you? Through LinkedIn, or just go to Isaac Wery, or Zimba Technologies?
Yeah. So there's several ways you can get a hold of me. Of course, LinkedIn. You can just search Isaac Wery. That's Were. You'll find me on LinkedIn. And email address would probably be the best way. That's Isaac@zimba.io, and it's ISAAC. I think some people are used to doing the double S's. So those would be the two easiest ways to get a hold of me.
Amazing. Well,
Yeah, and we're
we wish.
on all the different social media handles as Zimba Technologies as well, so you can reach out to us through there as well.
Well, you heard it first at Pitch Your Startup here, presented by Innovate. Today's startup is Zimba Technology, a micro finance micro loan app, which is extremely interesting. I find it very intriguing myself, actually, for such a thing. And we're gonna try. Maybe we're gonna help Isaac try to take it internationally because such an idea probably there's a need for it. But a lot of the institutions will look at it because they wanted a big payout. But there is a market always for micro things. Well, this wraps it up today. Isaac, thank you for being here at Pitch Your Startup. And I want to thank our listeners also for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us on socials. Until next time, think outside the box and keep innovating and stay motivated like Isaac did. Never give up. Life is too short for you to give up. So there's a lot to do in life. Absolutely. So never give up on your dream. Thank you and have a great day.
All right. Thank you so much, Bob. I really appreciate it. It's been a pleasure being here.
My pleasure.